Welcome to Frontline. It is 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin with breaking news from outer space, where Artemis 2 is just over 2 hours from splashdown in the Pacific. The crew returning from its 10-day mission, where it took man further than they've ever gone before. We have a live report shortly. Also, a Secret Service agent in training who once worked as part of the presidential protection team has been arrested on felony eavesdropping charges for spying on his roommate at a training facility. And a new bill in Germany would expand state reach into the real estate market. That bill would allow German municipalities to refuse letting anyone buy property in there if there is even a mere suspicion of anti-constitutional sentiment. But first, Vice President Vance en route to Pakistan, where he hopes to find peace with Iran, but he won't be played. I'm Edie Hill, in tonight for Carl Higbie. Frontline starts right now. Tomorrow, Vice President Vance, who preferred a diplomatic solution from day one, will negotiate in Islamabad with the remnants of the Iranian regime. It is their last best chance to avoid total extinction.
Look, we're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll, of course, see. As the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The President has gave us some pretty clear guidelines, and we're going to see.
President Trump made that clear by posting on Truth Social, saying, "World's most powerful reset." President DJT. The president following up saying that the Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards other than a short-term extortion, I should say, of the world by using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate. Pakistan's prime minister calling this weekend's talks make or break. So let's rewind to the 12-day war in June last year. Now, that's when we really started down this path. Israeli bunker busters ripped the lid off Iran's nuclear ambitions. Washington demanded utter capitulation on uranium enrichment. Iran said no. The talks went back and forth and back again with no movement. Then came February 28th and hell opened up. Nearly 900 strikes in the first 12 hours. It was a brutal, surgical decapitation, and it landed hard. The supreme leader vaporized in wave one, taking dozens of top brass with him to the grave. But cornered beasts don't die quietly. Iran fired back with a massive swarm of ballistic missiles and drones screaming toward Israel, U.S. bases, and overwhelmingly to their Gulf neighbors. Those are the ones who want Iranian regime change the most. And then Iran choked off the Strait of Hormuz, plunging a dagger straight into the heart of the global economy. And now, well, we've got a ceasefire so delicate it could be shattered by a pin dropping on the war room floor. You look at Tehran. Infrastructure obliterated. Leadership a smoking crater. The economy in a death spiral. Did Iran gain anything? Well, yes, it did. It bought leverage with pure, unadulterated chaos. By throttling Hormuz, they proved they can hold the global energy grid by the throat. They blasted off missiles mainly into those Gulf neighbors, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, and Kuwait, to send a psychotic message. If we burn, we are dragging the whole damn neighborhood into the inferno with us. Well, Iran absorbed a historic apocalyptic haymaker, but it kept its finger on the trigger and forced Washington back to the table. There's talk now that negotiating with Vance is what the Iranians wanted all along. But Vance is no pushover. He is not going to allow Iran to play us. The U.S. kicked in the door, aiming to erase a nuclear threat and force regime collapse. So far, we only got half the prize, but it's a colossal half. Flatlining Khomeini, fundamentally shattering the psychological spine of the Islamic Republic. And the U.S. and Israel wiped out over 70% of Iran's ballistic missile launchers and gutted the nuclear and petrochemical lifelines. We hit 13,000 targets, over 155 Iranian naval vessels damaged or destroyed. 90% of Iranian weapons at factories were struck, neutralizing 1,500 air defense targets, 450 ballistic missile storage sites, 800 drone storage facilities. And Washington didn't just draw a line in the sand. Trump scorched it into the earth, with B-52s circling like vultures and the president threatening absolute ruin and sending a clear message. That message was that the era of fighting these endless, consequence-free proxy wars from the shadows is dead. But the fallout? Brutal. U.S. Middle East partners who tried to play nice with Iran just got a lethal reality check, watching missiles pound their soil simply for letting American boots on the ground. Their economic survival is now chained to a paralyzed strait. So we're sitting on a ticking 2-week pause. Vice President Vance and the surviving Iranian diplomats are hunting for a miracle at the negotiating table. And if they don't find one, the bombs drop again. And the collateral damage won't be measured in dollars, but in the complete and utter collapse of the Middle East. But as President Trump said just a short time ago, there is no backup plan.
What's your backup plan if there's no deal opens?
You don't need a backup plan. We have the military is defeated. Their military is gone. They have, we've degraded just about everything. They have very few missiles. They have very little manufacturing capability. We've hit them hard.
Our foreign correspondent, Alice Malik, is in Islamabad, Pakistan, and has the latest just ahead of tomorrow's negotiations. So what are the top priorities for the U.S. and Iran heading into these talks?
Well, good evening to you from this side of the sphere. Good to talk to you from Islamabad. Islamabad is all set to host these talks. With regards to the priorities, the Iranian delegation has just landed a short while back, headed by the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Bakir Kalibaf, alongside the Iranian Foreign Minister. But there's someone very interesting who is also part of the delegation, who is the central governor of Iranian Bank, the governor of Iran's central bank. That goes on to show that Iran's priorities is to somehow go back on, get the sanctions reversed, and also talk about the money, the impending money that Iran claims. With that, on the part of the Iranian side, there is another set of priority that is to talk about Lebanon, to talk about an extension in ceasefire. On the part of the U.S. side, what we understand is that the enriched uranium, that is something that will be spoken about. For Iran to let go of its nuclear capabilities, that will be spoken about as well. For Iran to let go or tone down its missile program, that will be spoken about. The 15 points essentially that the U.S. side had first proposed and put forward, that was relayed through Pakistan, they will be spoken about, they will be talked about, and that also talks about some incentives to the Iranian regime, including a sanctions lift as well for what, quote, rebuilding Iran as it's being defined, unquote. So that being said, for the Iranian side, while there are certain quote-unquote no-go areas in their words, but both sides have been putting maximalist demands. But of course, U.S. side showing more so their willingness to give it time, negotiations, give peace a chance, give dialogue and diplomacy a chance, in hope that Iran would come around the table and strike a deal. Yes.
All right. Anas, thank you very much. Well, the war in Iran demands a strategic endgame. Joining us now is the president of the London Center for Policy Research, Colonel Tony Shaffer, and the senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute, Ken Timmerman. So, Colonel Shaffer, let me start with you. How can the U.S. translate its current leverage into an ironclad deal in Islamabad that actually stops the Iranian aggression and has verifiably the ability to end uranium enrichment?
Well, I think that's the issue. As Reagan said, trust but verify. We have to have physical access to the actual facilities. There's been some rumors about special operations reconnaissance, so I think we have probably a pretty good idea of where it's stored or what's left of it. And I think that's going to be a key thing. The other thing is obviously is demilitarization of the IRGC. The IRGC cannot have access or develop ballistic missiles or drones. Clearly, those drones have been used against the Israelis and our allies. So I think those are the two military requirements that have to be met. The third and probably most important requirement is going to be the Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
And I do believe, Edie, well, I'm hopeful, but I have my doubts. By this time next week, we may be in possession of Kharg Island and both sides of the Strait of Hormuz if Iran decides to not negotiate in good faith.
Yeah, I did notice that was the last minute strike we did on Carg Island right before the sanctions or before the ceasefire went into effect. So Ken, let's stick with the Strait of Hormuz. Under international law, the strait is free, open to all global shipping. But Iran is basically, in my opinion, set up a toll booth. They're charging ships a reported $2 million each to pass, money that obviously then flows right back into the regime. Further, Iran's deputy foreign minister said that Iran placed sea mines in the water and that these ships will need Iran to guide them safely through. So other than our negotiators, who is in a position to stop Iran?
Well, you've just hit the nail on the head. The Iranians have changed the passage. Instead of going through what was the international passage in the Strait of Hormuz, they are now bringing ships behind Lavak Island, which is close to the Iranian shoreline, so they can claim they are going through territorial waters and therefore charge them a toll. The president has said that is totally unacceptable. And by the way, the other things that Tony Shaffer just mentioned are absolutely true. They are unconditional demands by the United States to get rid of the highly enriched uranium and to have no further uranium enrichment. The two sides are so far apart from each other, Edie. I am really not sure that we are going to get to an agreement. Plus, you've got Kalibov inventing new conditions as he goes along. Now he's saying the ceasefire should be including Lebanon. And if it doesn't, he's not going to meet with the Americans. I mean, I don't think the Iranians have taken the true measure to President Trump.
This is, though, kind of the behavior we have seen in the past, for decades from Iran. Colonel Shaffer, unlike Venezuela's Maduro, who might have been granted asylum, you go to Russia, Turkey, Cuba, somebody's going to take you. No one wants the Iranian regime. So other than killing or imprisoning all of them, how does any other organization or person come to power there?
Well, that's the problem. And Tim's written several books on this issue about Iran. So the Iran is a theocracy, Edie. They have a belief that they are the chosen disciples of Allah. So they have this messianic belief that somehow they can change the rules. As Tim just said, they can just kind of make things up on the fly, and it's okay. It's not okay. And I think they're going to have to face a reality where additional military force may be necessary. And I don't think we want to see the country destroyed. We want to make sure the Iranian people understand we're trying to help them, not hurt them. Right. But the theocracy is the issue. And the theocracy is probably going to have to pay some more consequences before this is all said and done.
Yeah. And Ken, I was thinking about this. Are there any viable face-saving off-ramps that the U.S. can propose in Islamabad that allows Tehran to declare, diplomatic victory at home, but still we can permanently dismantle the domestic uranium enrichment program?
In 3 days, I don't think so. In 2 weeks, I don't think so. I was listening to John Kerry the other day, and he was going after Trump for not having given the Iranians enough time. He said, we gave them 4 years.
Right,
we negotiated for 4 years. That is the Iranian speed of negotiations. President Trump is not going there. He is not going to negotiate for 4 years. He's not going to negotiate for 2 weeks. The Iranians are going to have to make really serious concessions, and I just don't see them doing that.
Yeah, Colonel Shaffer, I heard Kerry's comment, and what they ended up with was this, grand deal that didn't seem to stop Iran at all. So we have gone through this a number of times. We've talked and talked and talked. And as you mentioned, they'll say, well, these are the demands. And then as soon as you start coming a little closer, then they add in something else, just like Lebanon. They said, OK, Israel and Lebanon are still, facing military action between the two of them. So the whole thing is off and we're shutting down the shipping again. So I don't see a way to get around that very quickly. And these Islamabad talks, they're attempting to bridge the gap between the temporary crisis management and then a permanent resolution. But what diplomacy initiatives really can ensure security there? Well,
the threat of the big stick, as you just mentioned, and Tim did too, it's like the whole joint framework that John Kerry had used was simply a hardened path to ensure the Iranians got to a nuclear weapon just off of the Obama watch. So that cannot be permitted. There has to be some level of an understanding, and this has to be something that the Iranians understand, that we're not going to sit back and let them kind of meander down the road. What they're trying to do, Edie, and I think it's insane, they want to try to get to the midterms thinking somehow if something happens in November, they're going to be spared, and they're not. We've got at least 2.5 more years of Donald Trump. Donald Trump will dictate what happens, and as Tim said, it's not going to be 2 weeks. It's not going to be 2 years. It's going to be a lot quicker.
I think you hit it right on the top of the nail there, because that is exactly what their posturing seems to indicate they think is their long game. Tony and Ken, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Edie.
Yep. Coming up, no more hiding behind local loopholes. Fairfax, Virginia county bosses who've shielded illegal immigrants from federal enforcement just got called to testify on Capitol Hill on the record. We'll discuss that with Congressman Tom McClintock in just a little bit. But first, in just a couple hours, the Orion capsule from Artemis 2 tears through the atmosphere into the Pacific off San Diego, carrying the 4 absolute legends who just pushed the boundaries of human existence deeper into space than anyone in history. We'll take you live to San Diego next.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands. We'll help you put off the high cost of a roof replacement for at least 5 years.
Or 10.
Or sometimes even 15.
We're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it.
We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. But don't wait. If your roof loses too much protective coating, it's too late. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Turns out the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools can be installed in weeks. Our pools won't stain or crack and never require costly resurfacing. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Artemis 2 wrapping up its groundbreaking mission. The Orion spacecraft set to splash down just about 2 hours from now off the coast of San Diego, bringing home those 4 astronauts who ventured further out into space than any human before. Our national correspondent, Joe Moeller, is live in San Diego with the very latest, waiting for this re-entry. Hey there, Joe.
Hey, they're not a bad place to be here on this Friday afternoon. A lot of people are anxious. They're excited to come out here to the beach to see what they can see. Experts say you won't see much from the beach, but hey, it's worth a shot. The splashdown is happening in less than 2 hours now at around 5:07 local time. Here's a live look at the beach here. Weather is just about perfect. Although you might not be able to see much right on the beach, there are some viewing parties also happening here in the San Diego area. Well, a short time ago, NASA did post on X that their crew was less than 35,000 miles away. But since then, I'm sure it's much closer now. The weather is looking good as well, according to NASA, so that's some good news. Well, the capsule will re-enter Earth's atmosphere just before 5 p.m. local time. It will endure extreme heat before parachutes slow it down to about 17 miles per hour. The splashdown will be a few minutes after 5, about 60 to 100 miles off the coast here from San Diego. Recovery crews will arrive within minutes using helicopters to transport the 4 astronauts to a Navy ship that's already out there waiting. For folks here hoping to see that splashdown, it may be tough. Some experts say you may catch a streak in the sky around 5 o'clock, but it is a little far off the coast to see much. But watch parties are popping up across the San Diego area at museums, breweries, and even some popular hotels.
Oh, we're just hoping to see something spectacular, maybe a sonic boom.
I'll be taking a little stroll outside for a couple of minutes to see if I can catch any glimpse.
Flying back to Vegas tomorrow, and we purposely stayed one more day so we could catch it.
I'm hoping to come out here and see a streak of light or something.
It's kind of fun to be, it's like you're part of history here.
I actually have some friends that texted me yesterday. They're driving all the way from Texas.
I noticed you were listening to the astronauts.
Yes.
You seem pretty excited.
Been listening to them all morning. The whole thing is just incredible.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, another live look here at the beach. Not a bad day. The airport also just posted that there might be some more flight noise than usual because they had to adjust some of the flight paths for this landing. By the way, once those astronauts are picked up off the coast here, they'll be put on that Navy ship and brought here to San Diego tomorrow. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, you definitely want the planes well out of the way for this. All right, thanks, Joe. Let's bring in former Apollo NASA astronaut Dr. Harrison Schmitt to join us right now and give us a little, your reaction to this. Thank you for being with us.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so tell me, their journey is coming to an end, but I understand that re-entry is really one of the most difficult hurdles.
Well, it's all very precisely programmed on a computer, but you do have a backup way of doing the whole thing as well, flying the gauges, as we say. But the most exciting part of it is a 7G peak that you get just as you enter the atmosphere. That's to ensure that the spacecraft is captured. And that in turn then turns very quickly into about a continuous 4Gs. Now, I'm speaking what happened in Apollo, but I suspect the Orion is going to operate pretty much the same way.
Yeah. So the Artemis astronauts, I understand, will also have some physical, challenges as they have to, learn how to deal with Earth's gravity again. Now, they haven't been gone that long, but how difficult is that, or is that something that they train for?
Well, no, you don't train for that. And for us, in the short time that they've been up, they're going to be able to walk from the helicopter to the carrier after they've been recovered. That shouldn't be a problem for them. It's the real long duration flights that make it difficult to walk again for a while.
Yeah, I was reading some memoirs of one of the astronauts who had been up for a long time, and he said that it took forever to learn really to walk again without doing a little weaving. Now, you were the last person to have walked on the moon during the December 1972 Apollo 17 mission. And basically, you really set the stage for this mission. So what was your mission like?
Well, we were the last of the exploratory missions in the roughly in the equatorial belt of the moon. And our particular mission went into a canyon that was deeper than the Grand Canyon by about a third. It was really a spectacular place to be. I'll tell you, your mountains are illuminated by the sun and they're silhouetted against a blacker than black sky. It just was really a remarkable experience.
Is there any place in the U.S. that you've seen that kind of resembles what not the black sky, of course, but the features, the terrain of the moon?
No, not really. The moon is a very unique place because of its lack of atmosphere and its exposure for 4.5 billion years to impacts from space. The Earth has been exposed too, but because we have an atmosphere and a very dynamic planet, those impact signs have largely disappeared. The oldest impact on Earth is only a few 100 million years old.
Only a few. So put us in the mind of the astronauts as they are coming back from having this amazing experience. That has got to be something where you form relationships, friendships, a community that must last a lifetime.
Well, I think it will, particularly for these folks. But all the astronauts are really very independent thinkers, and they go off and do other things, as you probably noticed with the Apollo astronauts.
Yeah.
But the friendships are still there.
Well, we sure appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. This has got to be a very special event for you to get the chance to see as well.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. This is just great to see that we're moving back into space. We're in a geopolitical contest as well, as you know. Yes. But with the company that I'm working with, the Interloon, we're working on resources coming from the moon to help us here on Earth.
Wow, that's wonderful. We'll have to have you on again for that. Talk about it. Thank you so much, Dr. Schmitt. Appreciate your time. All right, coming up.
Take care.
Fairfax, Virginia leaders heading to Capitol Hill. Following a brutal murder in their county, they'll be forced to answer for sanctuary policies that critics say put politics over public safety. The question is, will they change their stance? Those details are next.
Hi, I'm Charlotte McBride. I love working at Newsmax because every day we bring you honest reporting with real conversations, no spin. We're not telling you how to think, we're just giving you the facts and letting you decide what's best for you and your family.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Think about what is actually on your computer this tax season. W-2s, 1099s, bank statements. Your PC isn't just a machine. It is a digital vault holding your life's work. But here is the scary truth. Standard antivirus software leaves the vault door cracked open. They let unknown programs enter first and then check if they are bad. By then, it's often too late. You need PCmatic. We use American-made default deny technology. It's simple. If we don't recognize a program, it doesn't run. We lock the door tight. And because your data needs to travel safely to the IRS, we have a massive offer. Buy PCmatic antivirus today and you'll get our premium PCmatic VPN absolutely free. Total security for your hard drive and total privacy for your connection. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Lock down your financial life. Visit PCmatic.com to claim your offer today.
Fairfax County, Virginia's top officials are heading to Capitol Hill to defend their sanctuary-style policies that critics say are shielding criminals. Leaders, including County Attorney Steve D'Agostino and Sheriff Stacey Kincaid, set to face some pretty tough questions from lawmakers, demanding to know why local officials refuse to honor ICE detainers and refuse to cooperate with the federal immigration enforcement. The hearing next month comes after an illegal alien allegedly stabbed to death a mother as she waited for a bus. He was walking free despite more than 30 prior arrests because the Fairfax, Virginia County Attorney, Steve D'Agostino, dropped almost every single charge that came across his desk. And the county sheriff, Stacey Kincaid, refused to hand this gentleman over to ICE for deportation. Well, that brutal killing is now driving a high-stakes showdown on Capitol Hill. And joining me to discuss is California Congressman and Chairman of the House Subcommittee on Immigration, Integrity, Security, and Enforcement, Tom McClintock. Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's, we see this and it's hard to comprehend why they do this. So other than having them testify, what do you hope to learn that might help prevent violent offenders from being released back into communities just like that one was?
Well, naturally, our subcommittee is intensely interested in learning why public officials who are sworn with the duty to protect the public would behave in such a manner. And of course, the victims' families would like to know that too. But we need to point out what's happening in Fairfax County is a microcosm of the Democratic sanctuary policies that release dangerous criminal illegal aliens into our communities rather than turning them over to ICE for deportation. You cited the case of the murder of Stephanie Minter. There are so many others just out of Fairfax County. Last December, the Fairfax DA dropped murder charges against an alleged MS-13 gang member who was here illegally, despite his confession, making him a party to the murder. And the sheriff, Stacey Kincaid, refused to honor an ICE detainer so he could be removed from our country. He was instead released back into our community. One day later, this illegal was charged with the murder of a Arrested Virginia man.
Yeah, think about
so
that. One
this
day.
is going on all over the country.
Yeah, it just, is there anything that, because I feel so much for, this woman's family. They're having to live with this, the knowledge that, that the county attorney, the 30 arrests, and he just kept on saying, no, I'm not prosecuting, just push it aside, go on, go back home, go out there, And so this guy was out there, even though there were so many opportunities. Police had begged the county attorney, please, this isn't a question of if he's going to, do something bad. It's just when. And the county attorney just turned a blind eye to it. Is there anything that victims can do or their families can do to take an action against folks that are allowing this to happen?
Well, first of all, that DA also boasted on social media that he was taking into account the chance that an illegal alien might be deported in deciding whether or not to charge him. And when it was pointed out that it was illegal, he finally took it down in embarrassment. But that's the entire mindset. And what can the public do? We've elected these people for reasons I don't understand. I think there are so many gullible citizens who think that somehow sanctuary policies are protecting decent, law-abiding illegal aliens. Well, sanctuary policies are specifically aimed at preventing criminals from being deported to our country rather than being released back into our communities when they're released from custody. This specifically is to protect criminals, and this is what the Democrats are defending.
Yeah, and we see it, you see it every single week. We're seeing an illegal immigrant that allegedly has killed another American citizen, and it seems to almost always be in one of these sanctuary areas. Now, the House Judiciary Committee passed your Shut Down Sanctuary Policies Act. Tell us about that.
Well, it's a game changer. So H.R. 7640, it preempts sanctuary laws that forbid law enforcement officers from cooperating with federal immigration authorities. It allows victims of criminal illegal aliens to sue those sanctuary jurisdictions for damages that are caused by their releases. And it diverts federal law enforcement funds away from those jurisdictions that refuse to enforce federal law and gives it instead to those jurisdictions that are enforcing the law.
Regular Americans can't pick and choose which laws they want to, have to abide by. I don't know how these officials, elected officials, are able to do it, but it drives me a little insane. I hope you get to the bottom of this in the hearing. We appreciate your time tonight, Congressman Tom McClintock. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Coming up, this is the far left way. Another Democrat mayor siding with career criminals over slain victims. All that and more in our Culture Clash.
The scientists who know better will not speak up.
What's the truth behind climate change? Find out the dangers and why money and power may be driving this story. Award-winning scientists tell the real facts. Watch Unsettled, Climate Change's real story.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
The first time I experienced vertigo, the room was spinning, like I was in a clothes dryer. Then I started taking LipoBalance support. Its ingredients are clinically shown to help reduce dizziness and spinning. Take back control with lipoflavonoid.
My husband is Miguel Cervantes, who was a firefighter with the Rancho Cucamonga Fire District. That's what he absolutely loved. My husband's cancer is directly related to his service as a firefighter. My immediate thought after he was gone was, how am I going to do this? Tunnel to Towers said that it would be their honor to help me out by covering my mortgage. To say that it's been a weight lifted off my shoulder would be an understatement.
Do you owe money to the IRS? Listen to how Optima Tax Relief helped these people put their tax debt to rest.
I got into a financial pickle with my back taxes.
I owed the IRS $66,000.
It's a horrible feeling. You know, at some point in time, I knew the IRS was going to be coming looking for me.
I was paralyzed with fear.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS.
The team at Optima Tax Relief settled my IRS tax bill.
It was every bit of a new lease on life for me to be able to get that burden off my shoulders.
They really cleared the path for me to have a fresh start, and I will be forever grateful.
And I'm still amazed. Tell the story, people do not believe me, and I have paperwork to prove it.
For a free consultation, call 800-259-4762. That's 800-259-4762.
Optima Tax Relief.
You know, WeatherTech isn't just for new cars. No matter how old or new your car is, it deserves WeatherTech. With laser-measured protection for practically every car on the road, we've got you covered. Because messes don't care what year your car is. Whatever you're driving, we got it. We got it. We got it. Got it. We got it. We got it. We've got it. Oh, we got it. No matter what year your vehicle is, it deserves WeatherTech. Order your American-made protection today at WT.com. We're WeatherTech. You know we got it.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. I'd look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Relief Factor is a daily supplement that doesn't just mask pain, it helps eliminate it. Call or go online now for our 3-week quick start, just $19.95.
A mayor is throwing a tantrum over a mural of Irina Zarutska, who escaped Ukraine war to find safety in North Carolina, but then was murdered on a Charlotte train. Why does the Democrat New Haven, Connecticut mayor, Justin Ellicker, want the mural removed? Well, he claims that the mural is not productive to remember the victim. Listen.
The conversation is an important one to have, but it's about how we have that conversation. And from everything I've seen with this campaign, it's not a really productive way for us to talk about these important issues.
You know, this is kind of odd. He's got no problem with murals for George Floyd, who was killed in Minnesota. None at all. Joining me now is Daily Caller reporter Ashley Brasfield and senior research analyst for the Media Research Center, Bill D'Agostino. Okay, so Bill, analyze this. He's got no problem with George Floyd murals, but he does with this woman's. Why?
Well, because the George Floyd mural was pro-Democrat, right? I mean, that's a cause that they find allies in. The BLM movement is basically entirely Democrat. But I think it goes even beyond politics, and it goes even beyond Marxist ideology. We talk a lot about how these people are Marxists, but here we have a case of somebody who's an American citizen murdering an immigrant, right? Which you would usually think the left would immediately rush to her side. There's really no other way to see this than the problem is she had the wrong skin color, right? Yeah. If you're not allowed to be a white victim of a crime. I mean, at this point, the left has fallen so far that if you are a white person who is, God forbid, victimized by somebody who is not white, then that is in and of itself a crime against the leftist dogma, right? And so she is now an enemy of the left. I mean, that's why you see murals of her all over the country being defaced and torn down by Democrat mayors basically everywhere, right? I mean, because they hate her for being killed by somebody who wasn't white.
Well, speaking of bad Democrat leaders, California Governor Gavin Newsom reposted an article that said that Chevron was expecting billions of dollars in the next quarter. And then he wrote, while America suffers, Chevron profits. But then the community notes on X, they got him because they noted that the state of California actually collects more in taxes per gallon of gasoline than refineries like Chevron. So Ashley found that a little convenient and sort of confusing, though. Maybe he should be focused on the absurdly high taxes there because they're making more money off it than Chevron.
Yeah, those darn community notes. They get you every time, Gavin Newsom. But, I think you're exactly right. Maybe focus on lowering the high taxes, helping the Pacific Palisades residents rebuild their homes. I can give you a list of, options of, and this really doesn't rank as top one to go after Chevron when green energy has been supplied within California. And, he keeps asking for more money. The state does, where it's just completely run erratically. I mean, I played beach volleyball growing up. I've seen, the decline under Gavin Newsom when I was going out there to play in the summertime. I mean, you have homeless on the beaches, needles in the sand, and, homelessness has just got worse in the state. I mean, residents have fled. You saw that during the COVID years. Mm-hmm. Texas population has gone up. And of course, he's also, was successful in his redistricting effort. So, he's never satisfied. He tries to play the middle ground moderate. And that's what he's going to try and do to go into 2028. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. And not only the residents fleeing, but they're taking their companies along with them. And a number of these petroleum companies are leaving as well. So, Bill, I want to stay on Gavin Newsom because he always just gives you so many gifts. His wife has been in the spotlight recently with resurfaced clips of spewing very far left views. Here's a video, though, of Newsom saying his wife is a Republican.
I got to tell you, a lot of folks will be hurt if we don't push back, and so we're going to be firm.
Then why not meet with Republicans about this? They control the money.
I'm doing everything I can to do what I can in a very short period of time. I meet with Republicans every day because I'm married. I got a large Republican family, so we'll have plenty of time.
Interesting. So which one is it? Extreme left views, Republican, or is he lying? Because the office claims now that she is actually a Democrat. And if you listen to her talk, it's pretty clear. But he says, no, he sees both sides because she's a Republican. Now, Ashley, let's talk about the insanity. Roman Catholic nuns operating a New York facility providing care for poor cancer patients now has to sue New York over a law that is requiring them to affirm a patient's gender identity. The nuns argue the law violates their religious rights. Basically, if you end up in this facility, you say, I am a woman, even if you're a man, and they, by law, are supposed to have to put you into a room with a biological woman, even if that person, says, I don't want the man in there. What do you make of this?
Yeah, long-term cancer patients at the end of their lives that are housed in a Catholic-run facility. Sounds like religious liberty to me. They should be able to make a decision here. And of course, New York has had a long history, especially during the COVID years, of intervening as the state into places like healthcare facilities. We saw this with, the former governor, and now we see Kathy Hochul being sued over this. I mean, New York has continued to be a place that, you're seeing socialist policy and Democrat policy run it into the ground, just like we're seeing with Gavin Newsom in California. There is a reason they flock to places like Florida, but this is just particularly an awful scenario. And our great reporter at the Daily Caller, Derek Van Buskirk, covered this. And so I think that, stories like these have to be highlighted to show the absurdity. And that's why it has to be done in order to save states like New York.
Yeah, and you just feel for these poor patients who are forced to endure this because of this political, mood. Ashley and Bill, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, April 15th tax deadline is approaching. But before you file with the IRS, you may want to take a look at this book. I saw it, got it, read it. It's called Deduct Everything. And I got to tell you, it was really amazing. I learned so much from it for especially this year's taxes. It explains the impact of the Trump era tax cuts, along with a lot of different deductions that you may not even know about. And then there are these tax saving strategies. So, for instance, senior citizen ones. This helped my mom so much. much. When the tax law changes brought significant updates, you can get this and potentially save thousands of dollars with the right approach to tax filing, because a lot has changed in the recent years, including standard deduction, the estate tax thresholds, business deductions, retirement strategies. So it is important to learn legal loopholes. And this book is one of those books you can pick up and you don't have to look up the words. What does that mean? It's really easy to read, and it is incredibly helpful. So it's called Deduct Everything. It's available in bookstores and on Amazon. You can also check out a free offer at newsmax.com. So you won't be disappointed. I guarantee that. Be sure you get a copy. It's not just helpful for this April 15th. It can also help you start planning for next year as well. All right, coming up, President Trump takes a shot at conservative figures. What has the president fired up? We've got that next.
Why go on Roe? Because 1 in 4 guys.
1 in 4 guys. 1 in 4 guys experience ED.
On Roe, ED feels like no big deal. Connect with a provider to find treatment that could be right for you. 100% online.
Roe designed or curated treatments to make ED feel less stressful. There are options to fit every need, like fast-acting dissolvables or daily gummies. If 1 in 4 guys deal with ED,
then 1 in 4 guys should go on Roe.
Guys, connect with a provider at roe.co to see if you qualify.
The crisis inside Ukraine has reached a catastrophic level, with the elderly Jews pushed to the very limit.
Go inside. She's freezing cold. There's no electricity, no heat, no water. Winter is now a weapon of war, used against the elderly, the mothers, and the young children.
They've been lined up here for hours. These are precious people who are hungry. And they have nothing. If someone doesn't do something soon, a humanitarian disaster is coming. So many Jewish people who are just waiting for someone to care enough to pick up the phone.
Fears are growing that without an emergency, full-scale response, thousands will die this winter.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews needs your $25 gift now to help rush a winter survival food box of emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine. Time is critical. Please give now.
They felt the shaking of missiles. These are people who have already endured so much suffering and disaster.
The fellowship has been here and across the former Soviet Union for decades, but the need has never been more urgent.
Taking out power, taking out water, simple water to drink. We're talking about the difference between life or death. Christian, Jew, standing shoulder to shoulder, saying, we're here to heal, we're here to help.
Your gift of only $25 helps rush a winter survival food box filled with life-saving emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine who are struggling daily to stay warm and fed. Please call or go online while there is still time.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
We're proud to create jobs right here in South Carolina. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the right way.
We make American flags the way they should be made, where they should be made.
Join our pledge to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
President Trump ripping into dissenters on the right over their criticism of the war in Iran. The president singling out Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones in a lengthy Truth Social post, saying they are fighting him and that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon because they have one thing in common. He says low IQs. And he closed by saying MAGA is about winning and strength, not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. MAGA is about making America great again, and these people have no idea how to do that, but I do. So Ian Howarth, Turning Point USA speaker, and Matthew Foldi, the editor-in-chief of the Washington Reporter, join us now. Thanks for being with us. Matthew, let me start with you. What do you make of the president's latest missive on his critics?
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of the obvious to think about with this, but the thing that I noticed in this is this seemed to be a long time coming. He is bringing up long-standing grudges with Megyn Kelly dating back 11 years, Alex Jones 14 years, Tucker Carlson back to his time in college. I think this was probably going to happen inevitably. It just so happened that this group of people has been siding with Democrats and opposing Trump on one of the most important things that Trump is doing right now. And honestly, I think that as Iran continues violating this fake ceasefire, it makes it likelier that Trump will finish the job and kill the remaining savages in their leadership, because you're having crazy Democrats want to impeach Trump for doing the world a favor here. And you have these ostensible Republicans who Trump is trying to fully disavow, also opposing him, which means I think he'll say, I'm going to prove all of you wrong.
Yeah. Well, Tucker responded this morning in his newsletter questioning if Israel is blackmailing Trump in order to keep Operation Epic Fury going. He wrote this. He says Israel used recordings of a Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky phone sex session as leverage to pressure Clinton into releasing convicted spy Jonathan Pollard from prison. Based on the country's past, its leaders are doubtlessly willing to push as hard as necessary to ensure the bloodshed continues. That could mean Clinton-style blackmail against Trump or something far more morbid. Ian, what do you say in reaction to that?
I mean, it's hardly unsurprising that the person who has blamed Jews for quite literally everything that is going wrong in his life, whether real or imaginary, is now blaming the Jews. I mean, Tucker Carlson is just a clown show at this point, let alone the other people that Trump went after. And I think it's great that Trump is actually drawing a line in the sand and calling them out. I would love to see more of this from the upper echelon in the Republican Party, because the fact is these people do not speak for MAGA, they don't speak for the Republican Party, and they don't speak for American conservatives. If you actually look at Tucker Carlson's popularity within the MAGA base, if not the conservative base, it's declining because he's not speaking for them, he's not speaking to them. He's speaking for American enemies, quite frankly. And so it's wonderful to see Trump calling this out. And unsurprising that Tucker Carlson's rhetoric yet again mirrors that of the people who are probably encouraging, if not paying him to do so.
Well, Matthew, along similar lines, Megyn Kelly is suggesting that Israel and its emissaries are dead set on getting America to bend the knee. Listen to this.
There's nothing. They will stop at nothing to get you to bend the knee. Nothing. And I'm just a podcaster. Yeah. I'm a journalist. Imagine if you're the president of the United States. I don't think they would stop at anything. And I mean Israel and its emissaries, foreign and domestic. I actually believe that Mark Levin would like to have me killed. I do believe it. I think he'd be thrilled to see me taken out, like actually.
Matthew? What do you think after hearing that?
I mean, that is some dangerous mental illness on display, and it's kind of some crazy horseshoe theory. I mean, Anna Kasparian, she's on the show The Old Turks at this point. She's like 70 years old. She's an insane leftist, and Megyn Kelly is talking with an insane leftist about crazy things. Look, Mark Levin and Megyn Kelly are exchanging missives on Twitter. I don't think he wants her killed. This is, look, I'm Jewish. Jew hatred is rarely about the Jews. It's about something else, as Ian was saying. Something else is going wrong in your life, and so you blame history's oldest scapegoat. I think that's what's going on here. What is she saying? Mark Levin wants her dead? Based on what? He criticized her? That's weak.
Ian, what about you? How do you see it?
Yeah, as another Jewish panelist here, I think Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly would be sweating a little, because obviously this is also another piece of evidence of the Jewish conspiracy, that the Jews control the media and therefore are engaging in an anti-Megyn Kelly campaign. This is all just ridiculous. This is all just evidence of centuries-long conspiracy theories in which Jews are to blame for everything. And it's just silly to accuse someone who's daring to criticize you, a public figure, on social media and assume that means that they want them killed. It's dangerous rhetoric, it's silly rhetoric, but it has an impact. Like, people do listen to this. We live in a dangerous time. We have seen violence, political violence. Mm-hmm. And so I think people need to be careful. Their words matter, and that includes Megyn Kelly.
All right, Ian, Matthew, thank you.
Thanks. Shout out to our...
Before we go, cackling Kamala takes a crack at stand-up comedy. It's a new embarrassing accent, and she just added it to our arsenal. That's next.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
If your dog struggles with stiff joints, low energy, messy poops, or an itchy coat, the cause might be sitting in your dog's food bowl right now. Kibble. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete, gently air dried, packed with real canine superfoods to help your dog unlock puppy-like energy, smoother digestion, healthier joints, shinier coats, and more. Thousands have already made the switch. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
During the Omaha Steak Spring Savings Event, prices are going down. Save up to 50% with entrees about $5 per serving. Order now to get 8 burgers free. This spring, watch the prices fall at omahasteaks.com/TV.
We age because our cells do. Fatty 15 is the first and only pure C15 supplement, a crucial nutrient that actually reverses aging at the cellular level.
I'm 56 and a half, and I want to feel my best and look my best, and I find this is the one supplement that has helped me get the results I want.
Fatty 15 has over 36 cellular activities that support metabolic, cognitive, liver, red blood cell, and immune health. Give your cells what they've been missing. Use code TV for 15% off your order at fatty15.com.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Another lost spring break? Turns out, the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools are ultra durable for any climate. Can be installed in weeks, not months. And have hundreds of designs, sizes, and colors to choose from. For 70 years, Latham Pool has remained the gold standard in bringing backyard dreams to life. Our pools are easy to care for, won't stain or crack, and never require costly resurfacing. And with flexible financing options, your dream is within reach. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. It's never too early to start planning for a lifetime of memories. Visit lathampool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
Slotomania, the #1 free slots game, presents the iconic Betty Boop, featuring amazing reels, exciting bonus games, and grand jackpots. Yes! Download Slotomania now, play Betty Boop slots, and get 25 free spins and 15 million free coins.
You can't shake her. Kamala Harris is back with another attempt at comedy, I guess. Listen.
Well, he's pulled back because, you know, the way that he's thinking of foreign policy, it seems, is when he talks about America first, it's to withdraw from these relationships and these connections. And then he kind of acts like a mob boss. So then he's kind of like, well, you know, you take Eastern Europe, and I'll take the Western Hemisphere. And then you over there, you get Asia. And we'll just divide it up, right? Instead of understanding historically, America has always been about our global leadership, imperfect though we have been.
I'm just not sure. Was that a Marlon Brando or a Dangerfield? Or, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's, yeah. I don't get it, but I don't think that comedy's the career for her.
No.
Not sure what is, but that's definitely not it.
And whatever that was, she probably worked on it for a month.
I know
that's the worst part of the whole thing, right?
Boy, dagger in there.
I know, right? Edie, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.